Acadian. Welcome to this major component of the Acadian Heritage Week. Je vais commencer en vous présentant le maire de Lafayette. I'd like to welcome you and ask the mayor of Lafayette, the president of the Lafayette government, Mr. Joey Durell, to say a few words.
Thank you, Phillipe. Comment ça va? That's it. That's all I got. But I'm going to work on it. Welcome, everybody. This is a great day for Mr. Perrin and Mr. Zachary Richard. This is wonderful to continue the advertising of our great history and heritage that we have. But I just want to welcome all of you here. I've got to go in just a minute to cut some boudin. If you want to come join me a little while, we'll eat some of it. But congratulations to both of you for everything you do for our heritage and to promote it all around the world. Thank you very much. And thank you all for coming.
I'd like to recognize a few people. La représentante de l'État, Madame Clara Baudoin. Le président du conseil municipal de Lafayette, Monsieur Randy Ménard. L'ancien président du conseil municipal, Monsieur Papy Landry. Le représentant du consulat de France, Monsieur Dubernay. Et le directeur de l'Office du tourisme, M. Gérald Brault, et bien d'autres personnes, le président du comité de jumelage de Scott. Merci à tous d'être là aujourd'hui. Excusez-moi si j'oublie quelques personnes. Je vais demander à John Francois de venir nous rejoindre également. Et je vous présente le premier auteur. I'm going to introduce you immediately to the first person who's going to tell you about this new book. And it's Warren Perrin. Monsieur Perrin, le président du Codefil.
Merci beaucoup, Philippe, et merci à tous mes amis qui sont ici avec nous cet après-midi pour cette occasion. C'est très spécial pour moi. Et je ne vais pas donner des remerciements à personne parce que je ne veux pas oublier personne. Thanks, everyone, for coming. I appreciate your presence. I will not attempt to thank anyone because I will leave someone out. So I ask you to read the book. I thank you all in the book. We are celebrating Acadian Heritage Week, and this is the last event of our inaugural week, which was launched by Zachary Richard in an effort to allow our children to have the opportunity to learn about Acadian history. So I would like to call up Mr. Roland Paltz with the Vermilion Parish School Board. He's in charge of the French education program in Vermilion Parish. And since I'm here in my capacity as the founder of the Acadian Museum of Erath in Vermilion Parish, Roland and I, with the help of Superintendent Joey Hebert, launched the inaugural program. And in an effort to make the children of Vermilion Parish and hopefully all Louisiana schools learn about the incredible struggle that their ancestors went through to keep alive the Acadian culture, which eventually evolved into the Cajun culture, I will present to Roland a replica of the Queen's Royal Proclamation, which was signed December 9th, 2003, and ask that you present. I will give you 10 other certificates to present to each of the Vermilion Parish School French programs so that it can be used in their Acadian Studies program. Thank you very much, Roland. Why did I write this book? I wrote the book because I was invited to make a presentation in conjunction with the World Acadian Reunion, the Congrès Mondial Acadien, which was just held this past August, to the Broussard family, which was meeting in Pomquet, Nova Scotia. And with the support and encouragement of many people, including the Broussard family of Louisiana, which is called La Famille Beausoleil. As I was researching for my talk, I realized that nothing had ever been written about Beausoleil Broussard's life. He is, without a doubt, a cultural icon. The story of Beausoleil and his Acadians is different from the story that most people know about Acadian people. It's not the story of people that were put on ships and forced to come to Louisiana. Contrary, it's the story of a man who was faced with a struggle, whether to give in to the British and know for certain that his culture would become assimilated into the British culture, or fight, he chose to fight. And he led the first guerrilla campaign in North America, a brutal campaign. We don't pull punches. We cite the activities that Beausoleil and his resistance fighters engaged in along with the Mi'kmaq Indians. They scalped British, yes. They engage in bushwhacking, yes. But this small band of insurgents were fighting for their survival against the most powerful military force in the world at that time. And he is similar to the President Jefferson in many ways. Like Jefferson, he was accused of having fathered an illegitimate child. He was imprisoned 4 different occasions by the British. And on one occasion, he and 92 Acadians dug a tunnel and escaped from Fort Cumberland under the cover of a storm, and then gathered forces with the Mi'kmaq and led this incredible fight. Once the war was over, they were still given the opportunity to remain in Nova Scotia, but they had to renounce their religion, renounce their culture, live in separate parts, and to them that was totally unacceptable. They refused the offer, chartered their own ship, came to Louisiana on their own, and hence we have the celebration of the 30th annual Festivals Acadian, starting in a few minutes, where we will celebrate the survival of that culture. And this book then discusses in part 2 the redemption of that fight, and hence it's called Acadian Redemption. My wife, Mary, wrote the introduction. She knows me better than anyone, and she attempts to set forth why I brought the petition demanding an apology from the Queen for the deportation of the Acadians. In a way, it was to redeem my ancestors. In a broader sense, though, it was an educational process by which I discovered my Acadian heritage, and hopefully generations to come will be able to do the same. The book debunks 10 of the most prevalent myths about Acadians, which is totally wrong. Myths such as the Acadians were ignorant, illiterate people who couldn't sign their name, that's why we have the X on the last names of many. Wrong. Carl Brasseur has said that 20% of the Acadians were very literate, and that's about the same percentage of any frontier people. That they were deported because they refused the oath of allegiance. Wrong. That was totally concocted by the British to justify it. It was a simple land grab. I have the support of Dr. John Farragut, a Yale historian, who's head of the history department, who will be coming out with a book in 2005 where he re-examines all the original source material on Acadian history. And because I was introduced to him by Dr. Carl Brasseur, it allowed me to put 2 instances of Acadian happenings in here that had never been published previously. And I want to publicly thank Dr. Farragut for giving me the permission to put this in this book. And we discussed, thanks to people like George Bentley, it's unknown where Beausoleil and his brother Alexandre are buried. It's also unknown the date that he died. But we tried to discuss different versions. In some cases, we'll never come to a conclusion. It's impossible. There just weren't enough materials available. But at least we try to set both sides, and you make your own decision when he died, where he died, and under what circumstances. We also have in the book what really inspired me to file my petition with the Queen was a 5-page petition that the Acadians that had been imprisoned in Philadelphia by the British wrote after the war was over to the King of England then, and demanded an investigation, an acknowledgement of wrongs, and an apology. So what I did was not innovative. I simply made the Crown of England address those same issues that the Acadians did in 1763. And in this book, we have reprinted that petition. I hope I've piqued your interest enough. I could speak on this forever. And I'm often asked, what does the Royal Proclamation really mean in today's world? People would criticize it and say, well, it's something that happened so long ago. What is it relevant in today's world? And I guess I'll answer it two ways. Number one, we were treated as basse class, subhuman beings by those who made the decision to engage in ethnic cleansing. At the time, it was Darwinism. It was the strongest survive, the weak we shall get rid of or assimilate. So what we attempt to do with the proclamation by having the crown acknowledge wrongs, it sort of balances again. We're human again with the British. They're not superior to us. Secondly, it shows that they took the moral high ground. The crown was big enough and strong enough to acknowledge that wrongs had occurred. That, to me, is very important in this post 9/11 world where we're thrust upon struggles throughout the world. And hopefully it sets a standard by which nations will be judged in the past and will perhaps look to as standards for the future. And on August 1st of this year, the German Chancellor Schroeder went to Warsaw, Poland, and apologized for an event that had occurred in World War II, where 200,000 Poles in Warsaw were slaughtered. And he acknowledged the wrong. And the world's better off for that. And as we celebrate Festivals Acadian, let us remember why we're doing this. It's to remember the struggles of our ancestors that allow us to enjoy the beautiful Cajun culture that we do today. So the book's for sale. I'll be in the side room signing it after. We're not sure where it's going to be. It'll be in different venues during the festival. It'll also be for sale in Jefferson Street Market. And on the inside cover, we have our website where it can be ordered. I greatly appreciate your support. Thanks to everyone for helping. Merci beaucoup. Phillipe, would you introduce yourself?
Merci, Warren Perrin. Warren will be at the round table in the waiting room to sign the books as soon as we finish the presentations. We have several books for Acadian Heritage Week. This one is from Poitiers. It was published by our friends of our sister city of Poitiers, France, just a few weeks ago. It's a special issue of L'Actualité Poitou-Charentes on l'Acadie, on Acadie. And next year we probably will have one on l'Acadie in Louisiana, because it will be the anniversary of Le Grand Dérangement, la déportation. To introduce the next speaker, I'm going to use a TV spot very quickly. This is a public service announcement made by Maria Placer and Channel 10 to announce Acadian Heritage Week in Lafayette. Here it is.
Il y a 400 ans, 1704, la première colonie française est fondée en Amérique du Nord et appelée Acadie. Les premiers explorateurs avaient nommé les rives de l'Amérique l'Arcadie en référence à la Grèce antique, mais certains croient que le nom vient du mot Micmac, qui veut dire lieu de campement, bien de l'Abenaki Cody, qui veut dire terre fertile.
Monsieur Zachary Richard, où est-il?
Il revient.
Ah, il revient. Bien, ben je vais continuer à parler un peu en attendant. Nous avons aussi, monsieur, le voilà. Okay. Les grandes vedettes se font toujours attendre un petit peu.
Non, c'est parce que justement, je suis assez mal préparé avec la semaine de l'héritage acadien, parce que je suis allé pour voir justement si je pouvais trouver, non pas un livre, mais une boîte. Ça fait que si vous avez envie, je serai à côté de M. Perrin s'il veut bien me permettre de le faire. I would also like to, he's here today, the artist, Richard Strasbourg. Richard, viens me rejoindre. His history is written by the winners. And the history of the Acadian people of Louisiana has very much been neglected, particularly in the public schools of Louisiana, in my opinion. And this book, and with the wonderful illustrations of Richard Strasbourg, is a capsulization is that a word, encapsulation of the history of the Acadian people, and it's destined for the French immersion programs. It's basically the highlights, if you will, if you can call them highlights, of the history of the Acadians beginning in Poitou province and through the foundation of Acadie, the exile, and the eventual ending of the exile in Nouvelle Acadie. And here's my version of Beausoleil right here. It's a story that needs to be told. It's a story that we cannot allow ourselves to forget. I want to thank you all for coming, and I've just been able to locate a box of books. So, in fact, if you would like a book, we'll be happy to take care of you. I want to thank you all, and I would like to also repeat something that David Greeley said the day before during one of the events of Acadian Heritage. One of the foundations of the Acadian society was the need, not necessarily the desire, because in those days the Broussards and the Sauniers and the Thibodeaux didn't get along much better than they do today. But they were obliged to work together because the entire culture was based on les aboiteaux, on the dikes that were built. The people that were the Acadians, more than 60% of them had experience in hydraulic technology. It was on their contracts. They came to Acadie with the intention of reclaiming the over 16,000 acres of marshlands that they did from the tidal marshes of the Bay of Fundy. It took the entire community days or weeks of working together to hold back the tides of the Bay of Fundy, which are the highest in the world. They would go out there and dig a little bit, and then the high tide would come in and wash it out, and go out and dig a little more. And they finally were able to create what was the most fertile agricultural land in North America at that time. And any of you that have been in the Annapolis Valley know what a beautiful place it is. But what's important to me in the story is the collaboration that was necessary between all the members of the community to keep the community alive. And this is something that David, I can't claim author's rights on this. David said this the other night, and it touched me greatly. He said, if we are going to continue as a community, we're going to have to work like our ancestors did on the aboiteaux. We're going to have to do this together. And that's the spirit in which this book was written. And this is destined for small children, 10-year-old kids, and in the hopes of telling them a story that otherwise would have not been told. And I want to commend Warren for his important work. We need heroes, and Beausoleil was a hero. And these heroes need to be celebrated in our culture because for so long we have suffered from the stereotype of ignorance and poverty. And we might be poor, but we ain't stupid. And we work hard, and we deserve recognition as a people and as a community. But more important than that, if we are going to have a future as a community, we're going to have to take responsibility for it ourselves. And we're going to have to work together like our ancestors did on les aboiteaux. And I want to thank you. And once again, I want to commend Warren. And Bon Festival Acadien. I would like to, Richard Strasbourg, when we were looking for somebody to do the illustrations, Richard Guidry suggested that I contact Richard Strasbourg, who is a French teacher in, for Vermilion Parish. These are destined for a French immersion because they're all in French, so we can get them in Vermilion Parish if we can get a French immersion program. I would like to introduce, and I hope he's a little shy, so make him feel welcome. He did a fantastic job. I noticed that quite a few have them in your hand, so I won't ask you for money now, but I'll ask you to make a contribution. In the meantime, I would like to introduce to you, and please give a warm welcome to Richard Strasbourg, the illustrator.
Well, first I want to thank Zachary for trusting me with this project. It was a nice surprise from the beginning, big surprise for me to be called to do this. As an artist, to do something this meaningful is a rare opportunity. And it was also a learning process for me as an artist, as a teacher, and as a newcomer to all that. history and heritage. Thank you. Merci.
Richard will be happy to sign too as well. I'm sure we'll be over there. We're going to squat Warren's table in a little bit.
Et Zachary ne vous a pas mentionné les DVD, t'en as pas ici?
No.
But you can order online the DVD of the film Against the Tide, Contre vents et marées, produced by Zachary Richard and directed by our own Pat Meir. Hello Pat, bonjour. Ah oui, ZacharyRichard.com, l'adresse est très facile. I'd like to recognize two other people who came in recently. Monsieur le consul honoraire de France, Christian Goudot, merci d'être venu aujourd'hui, Christian. And our own Chief Administrative Officer, who comes from Channel 10, merci pour la télévision et merci pour Dee Stanley. And if you buy a book of Zachary Richard and a book of Warren Perrin, you get a free book from the city of Poitiers, le magazine L'Actualité. Vous le prenez quand vous voulez. Last but not least, Monsieur John Francois, j'espère qu'il est toujours avec nous, John. Oh, viens ici. John Francois nous a annoncé la publication d'un tout nouveau livre. So we're very pleased that this week, Acadian Heritage Week, we have at least 3 new books about the Acadians. John Francois.
Merci beaucoup, Philippe. Vous avez eu la bonté de m'inviter ici après-midi. Je suis content d'être ici. I have written 2 novels, one The March and one Cajun Fire. This talks about the story of all the Acadians who were here in 1799, who were in the various militia units of Opelousas, Atacapa, the Acadian coast, Pointe Coupée, who were called by the Spanish government to fight against the English at Baton Rouge in 1779, which of course was during the American Revolution. The second book is another novel, but this one deals with not necessarily Cajuns, but a young Frenchman who came here just before the Civil War to make his dream come true. He wanted to accumulate material wealth so that he could be independent, as most of us, I'm sure, are trying to be also. When Phillipe invited me here, I said, well, okay, but what I'd like to do is if I sell my books, if anyone is interested, I would like to donate 50% of the sales to either the Acadian Museum that Mr. Perrin in Iraq has, or to the immersion program. I'm not sure which it'll go. The one who wins lets me know.
25 each then.
Yeah, but I'd like to sell them together, and $20 for the 2 of them, and I'll give $10 to one of the programs.
Oh, wow.
So I'll be outside in the library. Thank you very much. I don't know what the response will be. I only bought about 10 or 12 copies. So if I need more, I may have to send you elsewhere, because I don't know if I have time to run home and get some more.
Well, John lives in Lafayette, so that will be easy. Oh, look at that.
I get the first 2, John.
Oh, mon Dieu. Thank you.
Merci, John. So in a few minutes, John, Warren, Zachary will be in the waiting room expecting you. I wanted to mention, but I don't think that she's here, Laura Leblanc, that there is yet another book coming out this week made by a Girouard from New Brunswick. C'est sur la famille Girouard. And by the way, I think that the name Girouard is spelled 12 different ways. 12. And this book will be in Lafayette very shortly. If you know any Girouard, or if you are a Girouard, would like to buy one, let me know and I'll get you in touch with Madame Laura Leblanc qui habite Lafayette et qui a participé à ce livre. Voilà, je vous remercie tous. Dans quelques minutes, ce sera le commencement des festivals acadiens, beginning of festivals acadiens, with one important thing that you need to remember. It's now Acadian Heritage Week. It was the first one. Next year it will be even better because it will be the anniversary of the deportation. And we're going to close with a presentation by our very good friend, State Representative Clara Baudoin, who's responsible for making Acadian Week an official week recognized by the state legislature in Baton Rouge. Merci beaucoup, Clara.
Thank you so very much, Phillipe. It's such a pleasure and an honor for me to be with all of you, and I want to thank each and every one of you for everything you do to preserve our heritage. And I thought I just could not let this opportunity go by without taking advantage of it. I've been looking for Zachary, and we talk every now and then, but we don't see each other very often. And at this point, I'd like Mr. Zachary to come up. I want to thank him for the thought of having such a week and coming to me and discuss this legislation. Mr. Richard, I'd like to present this to you to hang in your office with great pride for being responsible for the first Acadian Heritage Week and many more to come, many years to come.
That's very sweet of you.
Thank you.
I just want to say one thing, Clara. Mr. Richard is in the back.
Oh. And I also have this that was given to me
Thank you.
I
Merci.
forgot one more thing. I promise final announcement. This is, you know what it is, obviously. Well, this is made by the Twinning Committee of the City of Scott. Rodney Savoie, qui est là, est le président du jumelage. $15, it's a fundraising for the young people who will be going from Scott to Saint-Aubin en France. So we have some in the office too. So I hope you brought a lot of money today. Merci beaucoup.